when you walk with open arms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know the truth, and the truth is love, yes it is. Wasn't what they said to you, or anything that you learn from a book or from the news. It's not like that, 'cause it's a thing. It is something that you do. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Dibbo baby diddle.
Welcome to the Bassline. Dr. Joe Lee is the founder of the LASIK Eye Center. He is also the leading proponent of string theory, which has now evolved into the string mechanism. Brilliant, insightful, and cogent, it is my great privilege to welcome back to the Bassline the inimitable Dr. Joe Lee. How are you this morning, Dr. Lee?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's great to hear from you. Yeah, it's unbelievable, guys. Even though Twitter is supposedly a free speech zone, it's not free speech for Dr. Lee. He has been banned in the so-called free speech era of Twitter. And it's very frustrating and disappointing because he's a leading voice in medical freedom, one of the strongest voices out there, a suppressed voice, I would say. And yeah, it's quite a shame, in my opinion. What were the circumstances of you being banned, Dr. Lee? Like, did you get a message indicating what you had done wrong, supposedly?
I put out maybe 100,000 tweets in 6 to 8 months, and it was almost all just fighting the vaccine and explaining the string mechanism to everybody. And one morning I got up and I said something about revolution. I said something about revolution. In one sense, I don't even know what it was. And I think what basically happens on Twitter is the mechanism behind how they censor me. I think it's basically there are plenty of people who are censors on Twitter who hate me, who are looking for any excuse to get rid of me, and just using that one word revolution, I think was their excuse to cancel me, because I don't remember saying anything else. I don't like the idea of billionaires. That's absolutely for sure. I don't like the idea that people should have a lot of money, be super wealthy like that. I just don't. The whole concept of money was for the common good, and no one person is so amazing that they deserve $50 billion. Elon Musk is not that amazing. He doesn't deserve $50 billion.
I agree.
And so I said something. It was very short. I didn't explain all my thoughts. Just one little thing, and then I was gone. And and I did so much work. I mean, I called Kamala Harris a mass killer of Americans maybe 30,000 times. I said she's a mass killer of Americans via her COVID vaccine mandate, and I said that at least 30,000 times. I mean, I tried everything I could. I had sent information to the top 10 medical schools, medical institutions. U of Penn, I really hammered, and they didn't block me for a long time, but finally they did.
Right.
Yeah, Elon Musk is not about free speech. I'm so sorry, but he's about himself.
Yeah.
And when Trump got elected, I was very happy with that. I mean, I've been a Trump supporter since before he got elected the first time, and I was so disappointed in what Elon Musk did with Dodge. I mean, I'm as strong of a Trump supporter as anyone I could possibly imagine. I lost a lot of friends because of that.
Yeah.
And what Elon Musk did with Dodge, I despise the man. I really do. He's an idiot. He's an idiot, and I despise him. If you're going to cut people, hurt people, try not to be so witty about it. Try not to have this fake smile on your face. It just doesn't. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
It's just pure stupidity. I mean, he didn't think his reputation would go, get hit so hard. What was he thinking? He's not very intelligent. He got lucky several times, and because of all his luck, he made all his money, but he's not that good. He's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
that
he's the
good.
son of an emerald miner, for one thing. So, talk about being born with a silver spoon. He was born with an emerald spoon.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't like the guy. I would, if I sat with him in any debate, I would destroy the man. He's a little man.
yeah, I mean, I have to tell you,
And
they had that special event. I don't know if you were able to tune into it, but I'm not enthusiastic about any of these powerful people in particular, but they had Donald Trump having this summit with Elon Musk on X, almost like a private X space or something,
mhm.
and they made such a huge fanfare of it. And I was frankly disappointed with Elon Musk that he just seemed rather unprepared. It just seemed like a monumental opportunity for him to just sort of, throw some grapefruits out there and hit some home runs in terms of what sort of agenda or whatever sort of policies he would be excited about that could now be underway. And I found him sort of stuttering and stammering, and he just seemed like his thoughts were not organized. It was sort of it was
I
dead
don't think he's a
air.
person who thought about anything his whole life. I mean, I respect people who thought about life and death and philosophy and the big questions of why. I don't think he's ever done that
Yeah,
because if you don't understand that, if you haven't gone through those mental exercises yourself, you will never understand what government is for. He doesn't seem to understand what government is for.
yeah. Yeah, and it's also we'll get back into some of the political stuff because I really want to get into string theory again and now string mechanism. But yeah, I just find that in general, there's been this approach with the new administration that they're into just sort of rolling up their sleeves in this aggressive approach about some things, but I think we have to be rather disappointed from a medical freedom point of view. It's like they're rolling up their sleeves about a whole bunch of things, but they're not taking these killer vaccines off the market, for one thing. And we'll get back to that, but it just seems like they're so aggressive on the one hand and sort of pussyfooting on the other.
Yeah, isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, it
And
really is.
I think RFK Jr. I kind of knew that he was Lyme from a very long time ago. I mean, he did nothing to help me. He thwarted my efforts everywhere I went. All the people who were in this freedom fighting movement who were behind him, and obviously anyone who had any kind of voice had to gravitate towards RFK and had to work with him. Well, RFK controlled the message that a lot of people sent out, and I suspected that he wasn't going to do anything. And look, he hasn't done much. I mean, how can he? He's up on a national stage. He just can't say vaccines are stupid. He can't say that. He has to explain it.
Yeah.
Well, the way you explain things is with science. If you don't have science, you don't get to explain very well. So he's not going to say that. He's not going to say it because he doesn't know how to explain why vaccines are bad. And this is the anti-vaxxer leader.
Yeah.
It's incredible how stupid the situation is.
Yeah, it's really bad. So a couple quick announcements here, folks.
Sure.
On May 25th, we're going to be doing another 5 to 8 frequency jam session at Rock Mill Fitness. That's 274 Lenox Avenue. Take the 2 or the 3 to 125th Street. It's not even 1 block south of the station. You don't need to walk east or west. Just walk downtown, less than 1 block. You're right there at the wonderful venue, which is Rock Mill Fitness. It's a great fitness place, and it's a cultural hub at this point in Harlem. We're doing exciting new things there, including this 5 to 8 frequency jam. So please join us. Please save that date, Sunday, May 25th. It's a 3:30 p.m. Event, so it's not a late night thing. We're leaving time for folks to get home and get organized for Monday morning. And also, of course, check out my Substack. Please subscribe for free. If you haven't done that already, that's crazy. Please go and subscribe for free. If you can be a paid subscriber, I greatly appreciate that as well. It really does help the wagon wheel roll. I'm really doing my best here, trying to spread the word and and bring excellent guests to the table and write some thought-provoking articles, but the paid subscribers are actually the wind beneath my wings. So special thanks to them. If you want to support this show through buying the theme song to this show, Love's the Highest Truth, just go to jeremiahhosea.com, jeremiahhosea.com. Please buy a song, buy an album. And the last way you can support this show is signing up for a chess lesson. I'm also the founder of RemoteLearningChess.com. As a matter of fact, when I leave the station, I will be running to Washington Heights to go teach chess at a Catholic school in Washington Heights. I teach chess every day, been teaching for over 20 years. Please reach out to me. I'll teach you from scratch. If you learned how to move the pieces but never really learned any sort of technique or theory, let me know. We'll fix that right away. And, of course, you get a Bassline discount. Just mention the Bassline, and you will get a discount. But now let's get back into this brilliant discovery, revelation, this unbelievable thing that Dr. Joe Lee is credited with, which is the string theory, which has now evolved into what we call the string mechanism. Can you describe, first of all, just an intro to string theory, and then explain what this next step represents in terms of why we now refer to it as string mechanism?
Yeah, so basically, from January 2020 when COVID started, I found the flaw with the COVID vaccine January 2020. The antibody molecule, the COVID IgG antibody molecule, is a massive molecule, 145,000 Daltons. Its water molecule is 18 Daltons, or has 18 protons. We call it Daltons, protons. It's about the same thing. So this COVID IgG antibody is so massive, there's no way it can enter the lung. I mean, the lung airspace is where COVID is infecting lung alveolar epithelial cells. And the COVID IgG antibody is made on the blood side. Now, our lungs are surrounded by this waterproof barrier that can essentially stop water molecules from crossing into it. And so how would this COVID IgG antibody cross? There's no path for it. There's no viable path for it. So, I talked to all my smart physician friends. No one had an answer. Everyone was just a little shocked and like, whoa, what is that? No one had an answer. So I finally talked to my mentor, who's the director of Ophtho at Hopkins, Dr. Peter McDonald, and he says, within a minute, he says, Joe, I think you're going to be going to Stockholm. I didn't even know what that meant. So we've chatted for a long time after that. We kept in touch, and he was always shocked at all the information I had. But the COVID vaccine could not have worked via a neutralizing antibody in the lung airspace, which is their hypothesis under which they got all their studies done. So I emailed Fauci, and I spent 2 years just working with the system, trying to get anyone in the CDC, NIH, or FDA to listen to this issue. When I would call them up and talk to them, they would be in shock. I mean, it's not a trivial matter for them. When I explain to them, they're just stunned, and they realize that there is something really hugely amiss with this whole vaccine thing. Okay, no one does the right thing. No one moves it up the chain of command to stop the vaccine. But I have a paper trail like 100 miles long with information about this. So then I get on Twitter finally. I get 10,000 followers in one day, a few weeks after trying to figure out how Twitter works. And then I had 50,000 followers. All I had was this main information. The vaccine could not have worked via the COVID IgG antibody. And I went everywhere with it. I was loud with it. I just was everywhere with it. And then I got canceled with Elon Musk owning Twitter. I got canceled. 6 months I just stayed off Twitter. And then I was thinking about the whole vaccine paradigm, and it just hit me. Okay, you give a pediatrician gives a child a DTaP vaccine. Now, the child has DTaP antibodies. Then when the child has a lot of DTaP antibodies, 3 months later, the pediatrician gives that same child the DTaP vaccine, which is essentially the DTaP antigen. So now you have this crazy situation where you have the DTaP antibody and the DTaP antigen in the blood of this child. Oh, so what happens then? Well, why would they not bind? And why would they not continue to bind? So if you look at any general immunology textbook up to 30 years back, some even 50 years, you can see this explanation. You have a beaker of saline. You pour antibodies into it. You pour antigen in. There's precipitation. You can visibly see the clumping. That's what antibodies do. They bind their antigen. That is the strongest immunology science. That's the most fundamental fact. So now you create this exact same situation in the blood of a child with their DTaP vaccine. Well, same thing for the COVID vaccine. You have COVID antibodies. The booster gives you spike antigen in your blood. Well, the COVID antibody is supposed to bind the spike antigen, and it will repeatedly bind, and it will clump. The reason why it clumps is because each antibody has two arms. So one arm binds one spike antigen, the other one binds another one. And then they're bound like that, but on the bottom part of the spike antigen, the other antibodies can bind. So this massive network just keeps growing, as evidenced by the fact that even immunologists have named this. They call it a precipitant. So when I got back on Twitter the second time, 6 months I stayed off after my first cancellation. I figured this out. Within a month, I was back on Twitter, and I thought that this would end childhood vaccines. I thought it would end childhood vaccines within a year. Well, here we are, a year and a half, almost 2 years out that time. And, the string theory, when I first got on Twitter with it, RFK wouldn't help me. None of the leaders would help me. All these pretend hypocrite anti-vax leaders, they wouldn't help me with it. Whatever the reason was, whether it was professional jealousy, envy, whatever the reason was, they wouldn't help me. And there was nothing better than this to stop the vaccine. I showed that the vaccine has the main effect of creating damage. Because once these little precipitant balls block a blood vessel, well, you're going to have ischemic damage. And this mechanism, a theory is something that isn't always, proven, but this mechanism is in their textbooks. They can't refute it. So what I did is I was 100,000 posts on X with my second account. Everybody under the sun that had any influence in immunology got threads from me. And then I would publish those threads on my Substack just, to prove that they did it. I called the American Academy of Pediatrics baby killers for the use of the Hep B vaccine for newborn infants when the parents don't have Hep B. And I had a whole thread explaining this. For a year, I did this. And they didn't block me and they didn't sue me. But I did get kicked off of X. So, I'm a licensed board-certified physician, surgeon in California with over 70,000 LASIK surgeries under my belt. I publicly call the American Academy of Pediatrics for baby killers publicly, and they do nothing? See. Okay, so then after I got kicked off of X with the string mechanism, I was depressed again. But, the last time I was kicked off, I had time to think and mull it over, and I came up with the string mechanism. So this time, I was just, I let my brain quiet down, and a couple months, 2 or 3 months ago, out of nowhere, I found the mechanism for gravity. So that's why I've been off of X. And, this mechanism is ridiculously eye-opening because it kind of shows how even physicists aren't doing science properly. So it explains the rings of Saturn perfectly. It explains why all the planets are in a planar orientation. It explains why galaxies are in a planar orientation. It explains the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea in Japan. It explains auroras that we see over the northern and southern hemispheres. It's ridiculous how much this one simple mechanism for gravity explains. And, so Einstein's general relativity, well, he says you have to warp space and time to explain gravity. I don't do that. I have a very super duper simple little mechanism that explains it all without invoking some magic. And this is the issue with science. If you don't have a mechanism, you're not in the real world. The way science works is you explain how this affects that. This thing touches that thing and it changes it. You have to have a mechanism. If you don't have a mechanism, you could be completely wrong and you'll never know it. You have to have a mechanism. Otherwise, you just have a theory. That's all you have. You have a theory. You have to have a mechanism to explain things. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So what everyone does is they get confused with data. You just have a lot of data to prove your point. Well, that's how we got to the point. That's how we got to the point where we sacrificed human children because the high priest of human child sacrifice thought that would protect that building. Well, they had the data to prove it. They build a new building, they don't collapse so easily. And they have thousands of articles to prove that. It doesn't matter what data you have to have a mechanism. And in this real world, there's the real world and there's the fantasy world. The real world is the world of science. And what science is simply this. I am explaining how this affects that. This touches that and changes that. That is what a mechanism is. It's when you connect this to that. Well, if you don't have a mechanism, it's not science. And what does Einstein say? Space-time warpage. Explain that, please. He doesn't. Oh, it just happens. And how does it happen? If you make a prediction that is that broad, then how would that ever work? Jeremiah, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening. You cut out for just a brief second, but I hear you. Yellow. Uh-oh, we lost Dr. Lee. Dylan, can we get Dr. Lee back on the horn? Do we know what happened there? Sorry, folks, this is live radio. That's why I call this a radio show and not a podcast. So, sorry for any technical issue that may have occurred.
Sorry about that, Jeremiah.
Oh, there we go. Back in business. Go ahead, sir.
So, basically, with science, so I have had this 4 or 5 months off Twitter. I think I was canceled December. Now I have something even infinitely stronger than a string mechanism. I have a new mechanism for gravity that every physicist will have to look at because it explains way too much. And, once I have a platform with that, I'm going to expose vaccinology for the stupidity that it is. It's purely stupid. What I've done so far is, after I got booted off of Vax, I went to GSK. GSK is the largest manufacturer of the DTaP vaccine. I called the nurse, the intake person for all, physician complaints, and I explained the situation. She was shocked. Without prompting from me, she explains to me that she's going to report this to both her medical and legal teams. Yes, she should do that. I didn't hear anything from them. I kept emailing them. One group at GSK gave me, a receipt number, for my call, for my email. That was it. And then I started sending them long letters. I started with kinder care because I have a 2.5-year-old, and I need to get them into daycare, preschool. And I went to kinder care. And I try to sign them up. They say, "Oh no! If you don't have vaccines, you can't. We can't accept them." And I said, "Well, look, this is the problem with the vaccine." They're like, "No, we can't accept it." So I sent KinderCare a very long email explaining the situation. That vaccines, the DTaP vaccine, has the main effect of damaging a child. That's the main effect. It's not a side effect. It's the main effect. and that this mechanism that I have, the string mechanism, cannot be refuted by GSK, the largest manufacturer of the DTaP vaccine. And I included everyone in this email thread. I just kept adding people every few days, director of NIH, the FDA, everyone I could imagine. I just kept adding them to this email. So KinderCare has probably gotten 100 emails from me. The same thread that's just growing and growing. So, if the string mechanism explains exactly how the DTaP vaccine and booster are hurting children, and pediatricians can't refute this mechanism, what is happening? Why are they still doing it?
Right.
So for me, I'm to the point where I'm going to hire servers for a legal document. I need proof that I served somebody, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to hire the servers, and I'm going to send the information to GSK, KinderCare. I'm going to send it to the FDA, the White House, because apparently what they're all going to claim later is we never got it. That's what they want to claim. The first time I did all this before I ever got on Twitter, I hired an attorney to send information to Pfizer and everyone else, so I had proof that I sent it. So this time I'm just going to hire servers directly.
Yeah, that's great.
It's the most ridiculous situation on earth.
Yeah, it's terrible, and I feel for you. I empathize with you as a parent, also with young children, and it's total outrage. I mean, first of all, we should have our freedom and our sovereignty to begin with, but to mandate these toxic products and to claim it's an open and shut case that we simply can't discuss these dangerous practices as though it's just unquestioned. Nothing is unquestioned. I mean, they're reconsidering, literally physics is reconsidering the theory of gravity at this point. So you mean to tell me we're not supposed to discuss things being injected into our child, including any number of toxic adjuvants that would be understood to be completely toxic if you put it on a spoon and fed it to somebody? Things that are toxic do not cease to be toxic because they are injected instead of ingested.
There's a reason why we didn't evolve with needles to break the skin barrier. Our digestive tract is very useful because it breaks things down. You don't want to bypass your digestive tract very easily. And, pediatricians they're going to go to hell. They're going to go to hell because the issue is ridiculously simple. There will never be a situation like this again where any mother I explain this to can understand it. Every time I go to an amusement park or a child care place or a kids cafe, anywhere where there's a lot of toddlers and parents, I have to talk. I remember one time I went to this little miniature city, I think in Irvine. I must have talked to 15 parents. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to go up to somebody, and you have to, everyone who likes a Jehovah's Witness to come up to you and start talking about the religion? No one. I feel like that. And yet, this is so important. I mean, occasionally I'll see a toddler that looks a little sick, and when I start talking to the parents about it, they're very interested, extremely interested, because their child looks sick to me. They don't have an obvious diagnosis, I can tell, but they look sick. They look weak. They look like they're not growing well. Yeah. And they've had like 8 vaccines in the past 4 months. It's ridiculous what they're doing right now. I talked to one parent, and her daughter looked like she had the worst hives and eczema I've ever seen on a child. I started talking to her about it, and she was very open. She wanted to talk to me. And we started talking. And there's another older lady right next to us in line, and she goes, "Oh, that is so wrong of you." I'm like, she wants to talk to me. I'm allowed to talk about this. It's like, that's so bad, wrong of you. I'm like, see, this is the stance of pro-vaccine people.
Yeah.
They've been educated by pediatricians that anti-vaxxers are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's incredible how they stand so firm, and as soon as you start discussing this matter with them, they're just completely ignorant, completely uneducated.
Because they think it's an open and shut case because they have data. Well, human child sacrifice, they had data. It's not about science. Is not about just data. Science starts with the hypotheses, which is connecting the dots, which is how this thing touches that thing. They can't do that right now. They have no hypotheses.
Yeah, it's
When you don't have hypotheses, you're open to looking very stupid later. And that's their situation right now.
So let me ask you, Dr. Lee, I know that you said that your string mechanism, if understood, will wipe, I don't know what percentage you said, that the vast majority of vaccines off of the schedule. What vaccine specifically would string mechanism not apply to, if there are specific vaccines that would fall into that category?
Let's say you get, COVID. Then the COVID virus is a very large, compared to an antibody, it's much larger. So one antibody, if it binds a spike antigen on a COVID virus, the other arm can't bind anything. It can't bind another virus. But those two virus entities are so large that one antibody molecule cannot connect the two. So attenuated vaccines, if they use an attenuated virus as a vaccine, then that wouldn't necessarily create this clumping and precipitation. But the DTaP vaccine would. Now, that's not to say that the measles virus is good. The reason why I was able to find this issue is because antibodies were probably never designed in our body to work against viruses. So when I say the string mechanism, it's one thing that I found. I wrote this 156 pages just showing at least 12 arguments why vaccines, antibodies are not for viruses. So the reason why I was able to find this one string mechanism is just because their whole idea is wrong. There's going to be a lot of things I can find that's wrong with it. This was one of the things that I found with it. But it's so simple of an argument, I use it a lot because any parent can understand it. I just went to Kids Cafe yesterday, and I was a little pushy and I talked to a parent. And the dad was, he seemed a little hesitant to talk to me. He was like, well, I'm with my kid. I'm like, I'll walk with you. So we talked about it, and I pushed. After about 15 minutes, later, as he was leaving, he came up to me and he goes, you're very passionate about it, and I respect that. I happen to work with parents of children who have autism. I go, well, this is the mechanism. There is an exact connection between vaccines and autism, and this is the mechanism connecting it. And so, at first, his whole attitude was, even on the anti-vaccine side, he was a little reluctant to talk to me. But once he understood, it's a very simple thing. You have the antibody, you have the antigen. The pediatrician put both of those in the blood of the child, the antibody and the antigen, and they're going to start clumping and cause problems. So it's a very, very simple explanation of their problem. But that's not there's so many more arguments to show why vaccines are stupid. That's just one argument, but it's a very easy one. That's why I use it so often.
Right. We need to mobilize an army behind you, man. I think that what you're saying is so important. And I would love to segue into what's the update in terms of your observations around vaccine injury. Obviously a lot of damage had been done at the time of our first interview, which was some, I don't know how many episodes ago, 47 episodes ago. I interviewed you right here on the Bassline, and a lot of harm had been done already. What have you continued to observe in terms of the ongoing fallout from the reckless COVID agenda?
I do cataract surgery at two different surgery centers. And at one of the surgery centers, I just remember everyone was on my case. Physicians would argue with me in the doctor's lounge. It would get heated. The physicians would just hate on me. Well, fast forward 5 years now. Most of them realize the stupidity of the vaccines. No one gives me a hard time now. they all, all the nurses give me a lot of respect. Everyone gives me respect because I called this out at the very, very beginning. And I explained it. No one could argue with me. And the only thing they could ever argue is they had more data. That's all they could do. And it doesn't matter how many published articles you have if you don't have a mechanism. And they didn't have a mechanism. I had a lung barrier issue that they could never breach. So, so far as the damage, I think what's happening is a lot more people are reluctant to take any kind of vaccine. I mean, the uptake of vaccines, and I really think that, everyone, how many times do you use an anti-computer virus software on your computer? I used to use it all the time. I don't like to use it now. I actually think that they could be spreading computer viruses just to make me buy it. Yeah. I don't trust the whole, anti-computer virus software company.
That seems to be Bill Gates' MO, doesn't it?
Now look at vaccines. Do they have the measles virus in stock? Could an evil, vaccine company that wants to sell vaccines, could it release the measles virus into the community? I'm not saying they're doing it. Could they do it? Is there anyone watching over them? There's a lot of anti-vaccine sentiment in the public. Well, if they just started releasing the measles virus and all these children were getting measles, they could say, well, look at that. We need the measles vaccine because there's the outbreaks of measles everywhere. Is that possible? Sure, it's possible. Is there anyone overseeing that? I don't think so. What system? Does the company have a system where no one is allowed to take the measles virus that they have in stock out? What is the procedure? Is there oversight from a third party? See, I despise the vaccine industry. When I explained to GSK, and I got all the emails of all their board members and everyone else, I put them all in this email. Come on, somebody step up and do the right thing. What? No, they pretend that they care about people, that they care about people's health. Well, I'm explaining how your products are hurting people. Do something. Say something. Refute it. Oh, they won't? They just want me to go away, huh? I don't like people with money right now. I'm like, business is a problem. Companies and businesses that everyone just thinks for themselves. We're human. How would we not? Well, when you're a big company, you have to worry about the company. You don't care about people. You care about the company. I think really large companies are a huge reason why we're getting into this. Humanity, I think if humanity is going to survive, we can't let companies become this big.
Yeah, seriously. Too big to fail, too big to jail. It's problematic on face value, but it's unbelievably problematic when it's pertaining to public health. I mean, come on, folks. We can't.
Board members at GSK, do I think individually they're bad people and that if I was hurt somewhere that they wouldn't have called anyone? No, I think they're decent. But in their role as a board member at GSK, they just want to stay silent. See, this is the issue with being big, large companies. Their goal is just money. Their goal is not to help people. They just don't want to get caught. They don't want to look bad. They don't care about people. I don't think big, huge companies should exist. I just think that, destroying monopolies is good for many, many reasons, including keeping them a little bit more honest.
Yeah. Honesty is not their strong suit.
And I'm finding out it's not the strong suit of almost everyone.
Yeah, it's discouraging, but we have built up a little bit of momentum on X in terms of since Christmas Eve of last year, we've hosted nightly spaces, and we're growing a community called the Stop the Shots community. I would love to get you in front of that group to get them all acclimated to string mechanism. And my next question for you is, despite the discouragement you've experienced, despite the corruption that you faced, what can we do? What's the next step now in getting string mechanism out in broad daylight? How do we help get the word out? What are we going to do?
I'm going to start holding President Trump accountable for this by sending him a lot of information. I mean, I love the guy. I love a lot of things he's done. I just right now with his choice of RFK, which is, if he doesn't know better, that's the person to choose. Everyone should just email, not email. Emails don't work apparently. I mean, you have to send letters to the White House. I'm gonna serve the White House, via a server where I can authenticate everything I've done, document what's been sent to the White House, and I have to put President Trump on notice. It's this simple. The string mechanism deserves a rebuttal, or it's a reason to stop vaccines. To halt all childhood vaccines until they figure this out. I remember Vioxx. They said, "Oh well, it can cause a heart attack." Did everyone get a heart attack with Vioxx? No, I even took it. But the percentage of people who got heart attacks, I don't even think it was 10%. I don't even think it was 1%. But they stopped it. That's what they're supposed to do. They found a reason why they thought it could cause more heart attacks, and they stopped it. Well, that's what has to happen with vaccines right now. This string mechanism is good enough reason for President Trump to demand a halt to childhood vaccines until they refute this.
Yeah, seriously, and that's a good next step. But we need to broaden this campaign. We need to get this string mechanism out there for the world to reckon with.
The RFK doesn't realize the power of science. He's up there. He's in a position he can do all this. Everyone thought he was going to stop childhood vaccines, right? I mean, total health defense. I knew he wasn't going to. I was certain he wasn't going to do much. He's just going to mouth off a little bit. He can't do the definitive thing because he can't explain himself. If you say something like the GTAP vaccine is bad, you can't just say that. You have to explain why. He doesn't have the explaining why part. He just doesn't like it, which is fine. Not liking vaccines is good. But then you have to get past that and have to explain it because the other half of the population wants to know why you're saying that. And he's not able to do that because he doesn't know. Not having a scientist at the helm of the HHS is pure stupidity.
You kind of answered my next question in terms of what's your assessment of RFK so far. Of course, there are people, the general sort of divide is you have people saying, hey, look, he just got there. Give him some time. There's a huge bureaucracy in front of him. And then there are other people who are saying, look, he's backpedaling. He's selling us out. Where do you? What?
Look, they just start a $500 million grant for a general vaccine, right? Like for the flu and COVID. $500 million, and I'm sure that that money is going to slowly leak into everyone who was involved with RFK. They're looking for handouts now. I don't like them all. Like JJ, Dewey, what did he have a problem with string mechanism for? Because RFK didn't like it. There's just too much. Everyone stuck to RFK because he was a money wagon, and he was gonna help everyone get money somehow later. And he's not doing the right thing. And everyone was like, well, you have to sometimes not do the right thing to do a bigger good thing later. When is that later?
Yeah,
they're gonna say that about RFK forever. Oh, when he has more power. Oh, when he can do that. Oh, no, he got there. He could have easily said it. All he had to do was raise this one issue. Pediatricians, answer this question. Refute this, which shows exactly how the DTaP vaccine, which is given to millions of American children every month, why this mechanism is wrong. That's all he would have to do. He wouldn't even have to back it. He would just have to ask him, explain why this mechanism is wrong. and then parents will all be attentive, mothers will all listen, and the DTaP vaccine would be gone. But is he doing that? I mean, I even said when I was on Twitter, I'm like, RFK, why aren't you helping me? Are you not helping me because, Children's Health Defense is a massive organization. And what's the source of your revenue? Oh, parents whose children were severely vaccine injured. Oh, just a minute. You mean if there are no vaccine injured children, your organization may not get donations? Oh, just a minute. So do you really want vaccines to go away, RFK, or not? Because if you really want our vaccines to go away, here, I've got the weapons for you. These are the massive weapons that will destroy the vaccine industry. You don't want to use it. Why not? Oh, maybe you want the vaccines to exist. Maybe you want children to be vaccine injured. It gets dark, That's why if you're a good person, you have to be good all the time.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I'm waiting to be good. I'm going to play bad and, play with these snakes and slime, and then later I'll be good. You can't do that. You have to be good all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Great point and well said.
We're broken. We're broken. We're broken.
Yeah, it's a very rough situation. Well, first of all, everyone, we'd love to hear from you. We had some problems with the phone line a couple weeks ago. It was a shame that we couldn't get your calls through for Dr. Ariana Love, but I think the phone system is repaired. You should be able to hear clearly now if you call in. So the number, as you should already have memorized, is 888-874-4888. 888-874-4888. Keep that number saved, and we'd love to hear from you if you want to ask a question of Dr. Joe Lee. He is way ahead of the game. If you really take a good listen, we really have to listen to what the man says and give him his due, because it's quite important what he's trying to bring to our attention. And also, I want to thank someone who sent a lovely flower arrangement here for me. That was very kind. I really appreciate the kind gesture. I didn't open the other package yet, but thank you for the gift and for the flowers, and thank you to Muhammad, who sent a donation, which was very timely. I'll just say it helped me out a lot. So your support does actually help the wagon wheel roll. Of course, I do have 2 young children, and I'm surviving in economically hostile New York, and still recovering, frankly, from having my bonsai garden torn apart by the COVID agenda, where I was prevented from returning to work at the place where I worked for 20 years, prevented from performing in a music venue because I was a biohazard. And still recovering from that, feeling strong, doing well. But yeah, it was a body blow that's still being recovered from. So your support is resounding and heartfelt. But when do you plan on starting a new X account, Dr. Lee? I mean, I know you lost quite a few followers. If you said you would never start one again, I frankly couldn't blame you. But it is frustrating not being able to share your insights, and like I said, I would really love to have you as a featured guest on one of these nightly X spaces if we could.
Yeah. So this gravity mechanism has been. I've been 100% on this for like the past 2 months. Every space universe mystery video that I watch, I have a comment now, because I'm approaching it all from a different light, and so I have to finish this. It'll probably take me another few weeks, and then I will get back on, and I'm gonna. I just, I was willing to be quiet about RFK and what he's done if he just got up and started doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He got in office, but it doesn't look like he's going to. It doesn't look like he's going to. I
mean, one thing that's discouraging is these powerful people have a really bad tendency of saying things that they're not going to do. And I just have a hard time believing people are going to do things they didn't even bother to say. Right? It's like they normally say they're going to do a bunch of stuff and then fail to do that. So why would I assume you're going to actually pull off things you never even bothered to say? In fact, you spoke in very mitigated language that wasn't helpful to the struggle.
Like me, I write a thread on Twitter, X, and then I put it on my Substack, public for everyone to see. I just say what I mean, and I just don't like leaders. I think people who have a large social media following, how did they get there? Did they compromise along the way? Most of them did. That's the problem.
Yeah, it really feels like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's to move up, to appeal to the masses. I mean, like right now, I'm having a little argument with Mike Eden. I don't like the guy. I don't like him. I never looked him up. I never looked into what he was doing. I didn't like him because he was supposedly a scientist at Pfizer, and now he has all these problems. There's no one on earth who would better understand all my arguments and how important my findings were than Mike Eden. And yet, he just goes past all that and says there are no viruses. Idiocy of the worst kind. He steals all these eyeballs and he has nothing useful to say. I just don't like it, because the essence of intelligence is comparing. What? You have to have a goal. What's your goal? My goal is to get rid of childhood vaccines. What's the easiest way to do that? Compare his method, compare my method. His method says, you have to convince the scientific community there are no viruses. You'll never do that. Here's my method. Convince the scientific community that if you put a D-type antibody and D-type antigen in the blood of a child, won't they stick? They all have to say yes. My way is infinitely easier. And why is he doing what he's doing then? Just for his own fucking ego, which drives me batty. I don't like people like that. No, he's not innocent in this thing. He has partial, just like RSK. Mike Eden has partial accountability for the children who are going to get vaccine damaged. Because his approach is pure stupidity.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk to Mike Eden at some point. He's said a lot of interesting things. He's sort of, he shifted into the no virus camp, which a lot of people are critical of. I mean, I'd like to hear what he has to say about the matter.
Look, the average person who didn't study a lot, who doesn't believe in a virus, I'm not gonna give them a hard time about it. I'm not going to. But for a scientist who spent his life in this field to say that shit, he's got some problems. He's not a good person.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's funny. There's a lot of it comes up regularly on these X spaces. There are these people. They're into the no virus camp. They're very passionate about it, and I can't prove or disprove, frankly, what they're saying. I'm just not trained to that extent, and that's what I point out to them is that, when's the last time you looked into a microscope? I ask them, for example. Why do you feel that you have the authority to weigh in on something, on a paradigm shifting information as it pertains to a particular scientific field? I mean, you can have some knowledge, you can have your opinions, but I would never feel that I could weigh in heavily on something that I was not intimately aware of all the details and all the language pertaining to it. I mean, even look, I'm a professional musician.
I love the way you said that.
Yeah,
I love the way you said that.
Thank you. I mean, I'm an experienced professional musician, but I'm not going to lecture you about Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. I'm not qualified to do that, period. I'm not going to say, he used this chord here and there. I don't know. I haven't studied it well enough to think that I can weigh in. So I just find it strange.
I appreciate that. But see, this is what I think. Mike Eden has enough information to weigh in. He's done science his whole life, biological science his whole life, right? He has enough information. And he must know in his rational mind that what he's giving the people is just what they want, not what he really believes. He cannot have convinced himself that there are no viruses. He can't. So he's lying to them because that's what they want to hear from him. And that's the part that's despicable to me. Because he could not have convinced himself in his own rational mind that there are no viruses. He could not have. He's studied too long. He's worked in this field too long. There's no way anyone on earth would ever convince me of that. No way.
Yeah, I would actually love the opportunity to pick your brain about this issue even separately, but now we're almost out of time, and we do have Saint on the line from Brooklyn. Can you hear me, Saint?
I can. Thank you. Thank you for your show, Jeremiah. In the introduction, I think, unless I heard it wrong, you introduced Dr. Lee as having an eye center.
Yes,
Is that
he's
correct?
the founder of LASIK Eye Center.
Okay. Can you give me any information how this virus applies to glaucoma? Is there anything connecting between the COVID and the treatments, and did it increase the glaucoma in people who were maybe a long way from getting it fully, or does it have any connection at all?
Glaucoma is amazingly not perfectly understood even now, and there are many etiologies for it, and we can't even understand if how glaucoma occurs with low tension glaucoma, which is pressure's not very high. Usually we think of pressure in the eye is too high, it can damage the nerve. So, there's a huge overlap between optic nerve ischemia, and glaucoma. So let's say, you get the vaccine for the COVID virus, and you form these little precipitants and small blood vessels that provide the optic nerve. Let's say some of them are clotted off. Well, it can look like optic atrophy, or it can look like low tension glaucoma. So basically, when you can clot off a blood vessel with the vaccine, then you can impact any part of the body. And glaucoma is, something that involves our optic nerve and damage the optic nerve. You can damage the optic nerve with that. It can all happen. Now, if, you get a tiny little clot in your muscle, you have some muscle pain, no one will know. No one will ever figure that out later. But if you get that little clump in the brain of a child, in their limbic system, then you're going to have a personality change. And you're going to have features that mimic autism. This is the exact mechanism connecting many childhood vaccines to autism. And explaining to tens of thousands of people, no one has a rebuttal, which means if you really love your children, you got to stop this crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is your eye center here in New York?
No, I'm in LA.
Oh boy. Okay.
And I don't see glaucoma patients.
Okay.
I'm mostly a LASIK surgeon, but I don't see glaucoma patients.
Okay.
well,
All right. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate what you had to say today. It really gave me additional information I didn't know before. So thank you.
Thanks, Saint. We really appreciate the call, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. We're at the 1 minute mark here. We're about to close up shop for this Friday afternoon, but I want to thank you so much, Dr. Joe Lee, for taking the time to be here again. I look forward to you getting on X again, and I'm going to try to rally the troops and help you get as many followers back as quickly as you can. Yeah, it's quite a pleasure, and I think you're really on to something, and I'm going to do my very best to help people understand what it is you're trying to share with the world.
I wish everyone was like you. If everyone was like you, our country would be fine.
Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Lee. And everyone, have a great weekend. Stay in touch. Please go subscribe to my Substack if you haven't already. And if you have, then tell a friend to, if you could. Right now, I'm kind of like an awesome musician just sitting there in the subway, just collecting one dime at a time. But I would love if some, generous donor came about and tossed me $100 bill. And I don't just mean in terms of cash. I mean in terms of spreading the word about what we're doing here. It's very manual, the progress that we're making. It's steady, it's noticeable, but it's manual. I would love if that group effect started kicking into gear where this information is getting spread to people by the thousands. If you could help me create that, everyone. So that's my vision, that's my dream, and Yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in, as always. Thanks, Dr. Lee. Thanks, Dylan, my trusty engineer behind the scenes. And have a great weekend, everyone. Peace and love. See you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.